And welcome. It's good to see everyone again. And thank you, Fares, for being here.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone.
You know, I have to say, we started this, as Luc said, 5 years ago online. And it was actually rather nice because, you know, everybody was at the time forced to stay at home, and we did it all online so that people could still learn from leaders. But I have to say now, Fares, to be here on this stage with all of you in such a beautiful location, it is something else. That's nice. Now, for you, Fares, we are going to talk about what it is that you do and your vision for companies and for careers and all of that. But first, I want to start, because we're here in Geneva. You know, you will get to know the students later on. They come from all over the world. But you live right here, don't you?
I do.
So maybe you came walking?
So first, let me say I'm really delighted to be here. If you have asked me some 35 years ago or 36 years ago when I finished school, like hopefully you do soon, will I be sitting here to address you? I would have not even dreamt of it. So it's really humbling to be here this afternoon. And hopefully the engagement will be of give you what many other people during my life stages and career has given me. So hopefully today it will be informal. Any question that comes to your mind, and I'm sure Peter will do the same, I'll do my best to share it with you.
Yeah, and we're going to get questions from the audience, of course, later on in this conversation. But we're going to start with this little fireside chat. Even though there is no fire, we could use a little bit of fire. It's cold outside. But Fares, you're, of course, here, and it's not a coincidence that you're here. Not because we are actors in a play or so. No, you're here because you work for a company that has major operations here, and I think that we all know P&G. But what we maybe not know is just the extent of how big a company P&G really is. Could you just tell us a few brands that any of us might know from around the world that P&G produces?
Indeed, indeed. You asked me before, how did I get here?
Yes, I did, yes.
Okay. So I've been here 20 years in reality. Came to Geneva through my current company, Procter Gamble, P&G. Yeah. I started there about 36 years ago.
Wow.
After I finished school, I studied in the US. And after finished school, I went to Saudi Arabia. And this is where I met P&G. I joined them there in manufacturing in one of our factories there. And from Saudi, I started moving around. So I went from Saudi to Yemen to South Africa, a second time to Saudi, then to Egypt. And I was so lucky during all those years to land here in Geneva. So I've been here exactly 20 plus years.
Wow.
Within that journey, which of course, you know, I'll be happy to answer some of my learning as I went from one place to the other with a phenomenal family that support me in the process. You might say, okay, what does P&G do? I hope when you go in the morning to shower and you do shampoos, you use Pantene or Head & Shoulders. So that's what we do.
I use Head & Shoulders. It's great.
That's why your hair looks brilliant. And we have a lot of product. If you brush your teeth, it's either Oral-B or Crest in the US. If you clean your clothes, it will be Tide or Ariel. If you do your dishes, it will be Fairy in Europe or Gain in the US. If you have babies, it will be Pampers.
Oh yes, I'm probably one of your biggest customers right now with 2 babies that are in Pampers.
The best product, and you know, for ladies, we do feminine protection always and Tampax, and then I can go on. We have a lot of products. Gillette for the gentlemen here who shave. Hopefully, you do Gillette or Braun. Electric razor. So it's quite a diverse product.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I guess you touch people's lives around the world every day, it sounds like. What does that add up to? Like, what's the size of the company in terms of the number of employees, in terms of the revenue that it has?
What I share with you is publicly available. We are north of $80 billion sale, about 100,000 employees. We operate in more than 150 plus countries, so quite a vast. It's a company that started in 1837 So over 180 plus years now.
And I suppose, I'm going to take a wild guess here, I suppose it was started by a certain Mr. Procter Gamble.
There were two gentlemen. One is Mr. Procter and the other one is Mr. Gamble. And they started from a soap and a candle to become today the largest FMCG company in the world and in our industry.
Our previous guest, Paul Bulke from Nestlé, is not going to like to hear that, that you're the biggest one. But, and neither is Paul Polman, who has also been here from Unilever. But we're very honored. And of course, Fares, we wanted to talk a little bit about the company, but we mostly want to learn from your journey as an individual at the company. Now, I do have to ask you about your title, because, you know, I am very impressed by your title. I'll be honest with you. You seem like you're very, very, very senior at the company. But I'm also not 100% sure that if I had to guess, that I could explain to someone else that it is what you do.
Yeah.
So what is it actually? Yeah,
essentially, I'm into supply chain. And the way we define supply chain is what we call shelf back to supplier, or even consumer back to supplier. So as you buy Head and Shoulders, for instance, supply chain is the responsibility of procuring the material, putting them in a factory, producing them, and then put them through the logistics supply chain all the way to the store or to the distribution centers. And in between, I have responsibility for the engineering, for the quality, for planning, for strategic sourcing. So kind of an end-to-end. And in my case, I'm responsible for about 30-odd factories globally, about 12, 15,000 colleagues.
Wow.
And operate in every region around the globe.
And probably 24/7 it's running. One of the factories is running 24/7.
Most of our supply chain, you know, we serve 5 billion consumers every day, so you can imagine.
Wow. You know, one other way that you described to me what it is that you do is you said, you know, if you think about the core of what a company is, what the heart of a company is, then really, you know, making the products is the heart of the product, of the company. And then within that, there's another heart and another core. So you're at the core of the company. Could you explain that a little further?
Well, every company that sell a product, it needs an organization to ensure that that product is available. And that product available means you need to have the talent, you need to have the technology, you need to have the right people to think around what's needed today, but what's needed in 5 and 10 years. So during COVID, in reality, many companies realized that when you're at home, you cannot market and you cannot sell.
Yeah.
That's what happened. None of us went to shop.
Some of the people that we met during COVID, I think that it was probably easy for them to meet during COVID because, you know, they were locked at home anyway. But I suppose for people like yourself who are really responsible to making sure that people keep on having food and things to care for themselves during that period of time, that might have been one of the busiest and craziest periods of your life, no?
It was the time where it tested all of us in the industry. And, you know, just to go back to, we worked from home, we lived from home. Those people in the factories had to show up every day to serve our consumers. So it was quite a testing moment for the capability, for resiliency. And this is where companies...
And you met the challenge. Fares, you know, it already appears clear to me, and I think it might appear clear to many of the students in the room, you know, what gives you a sense of purpose at a company like P&G? It sounds to me like that is that you know that you make the difference, you know, for hundreds of millions of people in their lives every day. Is that what attracts you to P&G?
Well, listen, you know, as I look around the audience here, hopefully many of you, you know, are about to graduate, or some of you started working, but eventually all of you will seek career, or will seek something that you have passion for. When people ask me, you know, how long you've been, and I say 36 years, and I say, how come you stay in the same place? So I'm not going to make reference to the great company I work today, but more of, if I'm in your shoes today, and I look back, what did I learn over the years? Where you will be working and where you will stay and enjoy is first the place where you see the passion in you coming out. Passion coming out, which means you wake up every morning and you say, I have passion for what I do. 36 years, I have certain passion that I continue waking up in the morning to go and do. But the most important thing, whatever you do in life, if you're not valued where you show up, if you're not looked at as a unique individual, as included, and you're not trusted to show that you can deliver at peak, if that is not available for wherever you go, you shouldn't stay in it. And the reason I stayed for the past 36 years where I am is every morning I wake up, I knew I'm going to go into a work environment where between my colleagues, between the people that I belong to, between my bosses, I felt all the time valued, I felt all the time included, I felt all the time trusted to perform at my best, which what I call in my words, the VIP thing, which is not VIP as very important person, quite an arrogant acronym. VIP for V for valued, I for included, and P for performing at peak. And every time you've got that recipe, you stay.
So, you're now, of course, at a position in the company where you can basically lead on that. You can make sure that there's a culture in which people are valued and they are included. Now, of course, when you started your career, much like the students in the room are going to start their career very soon, you were not in such a position, and you were almost like a taker of a corporate culture where you might be valued and included, but you might also not be. You just talked a little bit about this, but is that also something where you then feel, if you have it, that's a great reason to stay and to build a career for 36 years, and if you don't have it, then maybe it's better to go somewhere else?
It happened that I joined a company that breathe every day what we call PVP, principle, values, and purpose, that was put there since day one from the early family of Procter Gamble. They would do the honest thing no matter what. And that honest thing turned out to be what we call today purpose, the principle, and the value. Now, if it happened that you join a company and you show up every day and that honest thing, you don't see it, you don't feel it, it's not in every decision and every walk, why would you want to stay in such a place? But at the same time, you might also go to places where maybe they're early days, they're early startup, and many of you are anxious to go into startup. Each and every one of you can create around you a vibe of being valued, being included, and performing at peak. You will be one day leading other people. You can bring that to life in the way you treat others.
At any level in an organization?
At any level. Now, of course, there are big companies. Sometimes you say, I cannot change maybe the culture. It's a choice if you want to stay. My personal journey has taught me that you should never trade anything in life if you're not valued, if you're not included, and if you're not trusted to give your best.
The other element that you talked about is passion, right? You have a passion for what you do. It's something that we almost always hear, right? We always hear this from leaders who say, follow your passion is like our number one advice that we hear at the Business School. But Fares, like I'm not sure if we're going to ask now, all the students, how many people are passionate about running a factory, how many that would be, but it's likely that maybe not too many people have that idea in mind as being their passion today. And, was it for you then that was the case, or you discover that your passion was to sort of be deep in the operations of a major company?
Peter, great question, because when I joined university, I studied engineering. I honestly did not know what will be the job after I graduate. And it happened that I started in construction in an oil field for a year. You tell me why. Okay, engineer, I got a job offer, I went to Saudi. A year later, I knew about P&G through a friend, and I applied. I wanted to change. And I found myself on a factory floor. Never thought in my life I'm going to be in manufacturing or in supply chain. But it triggered something in me that has kept me going. It's not only about the technology, which I'm fascinated about. It's not about today, the digital world we're in, the data, the artificial intelligence, which is I love, I'm learning every day. It was about the people. It's about if you're put in a responsible situation, the impact you can make on others is humongous. And you start looking at individual beyond only that person. That person has got also other people depending on them. And I felt from day one, that's what I love to do, is to be part of teams. And eventually, with the work I've done, I grew to find myself year after year leading bigger teams. And that's the passion that keeps me going.
It's really interesting, I find, because you said you're an engineer by training, and you spend, of course, a lot of, and we'll talk about the sort of the journey of your career in a little bit, but you spend a lot of time in your career in factories, on floors, really working with machines, optimizing processes, and that all makes a lot of sense. You're working with technology, you're working with machinery, but what I find remarkable is that a lot of what you say is about people. We think that things are about technology, but in reality, they're still about people. Talk to us a little bit more about another aspect that I know you have quite a clear vision on, which is the role of AI, artificial intelligence, going forward. This is like the most hyped thing I think that we've ever experienced. What do you see as the role of AI, and can you relate that back to your perspective of technology versus humans?
Listen, you're in the 21st century. Can you raise your hand if you have used any artificial intelligence tools in the past 1 week, such as a question to ChatGPT? Wow. It's amazing.
Who's that one person that said no?
No, but in any setting, and more so with this fantastic young generation, but even with my generation, we're all using digital. Actually, our iPhone is becoming part of us, right? We Google things, we open app. So this is technology, Peter.
Yeah.
So whatever you do today at university or later at work, you'll need to embark on digital capability, on what we call AI is an umbrella. AI, you can say data analytics or machine learning. Everybody needs it. You cannot succeed in today's world with all the differentiation that come your way, with all the technology that you will touch. You will have to embrace, otherwise you will be left behind. You will have to embrace technology.
Right,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing, Peter. I lose sleep sometime over how much people talk about AI. And what I call AI, and again, I'm very positive on AI, it amplifies human intelligence. So if people have got a high IQ, AI will bring the IQ even one step higher. But here's where I'm losing sleep, is there is abundance of IQ, but scarcity of EQ. And if you play with these words, you say, Fares, what are you talking about? IQ is a definition of intelligence. In this room, if we add the IQ, we will blow off the ceiling. You're all smart, otherwise you would not have been sitting here. But what I learned over my 3+ decades, IQ alone doesn't take you that far. You need to bring that emotional intelligence, that care, sincere care of people around you. And more importantly, EQ is about having that self-awareness of what you say, what you do, how it impacts others. And those people with high EQ are the people who create an environment around them where everyone feels valued, everyone feels included, and everyone sees that he or she is trusted to perform at peak. And when you do that, you can then create technology, you can create machine learning, you can create AI. So at the heart of the big learning, honestly, after so many years being, I work in so many cultures with so many bright people, I always observed in the room leaders with very high IQ versus leaders with very high EQ. Trust me, the people with high EQ tend to deliver by far higher result than the people who have only IQ. You need them both. But if the balance is IQ is by far higher than EQ, yes, you can create the next big innovation for a while, but you need people with you in that journey.
Right. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your journey as it started, like the journey is starting for all the people in the room here. So you already alluded to it briefly. You were born in Lebanon, and then you left at the age of 19. You said you left to go and study abroad. In your case, abroad was the United States, right?
Yeah.
Where did you study? In which country, which city, or which region?
I landed in Washington, D.C. I lived there for 4 years. I did my studies there, and this is when I left to Saudi.
Now, I find this fascinating because, without revealing your age, you you have been around for a while, and so, getting that first job was quite a few years ago. Now, today, I know a lot of people from all kinds of places that get job offers to go to Saudi Arabia, but that was maybe not the case, a few decades ago. Let's put it that way. What made you decide to go from Lebanon to the U.S. and then from the U.S. to Saudi Arabia? What are the criteria that you made, and which one would you recommend to the students when they consider their future if they go from Geneva to perhaps, is it the Middle East, is it Asia, do they stay in Europe?
Peter, it was, I don't know, when you're young, you always have those dreams about certain places and certain location, and U.S. fascinated me all those years that I want to go live there and study there. And I did. So I applied, I got accepted, I went there. But it happened that during that period, I was dating my current wife, who we met in high school, okay? So for 40 years, we've been together like day one. And I wanted a job in reality for us to get together. So I was willing to go anywhere after university. And I found a job in Saudi. And why Saudi? Again, some of those illusions in those days, Saudi was the oil place. And you think you can go there and wow, the growth rate. I was happy to go there, but happier because also I met P&G. And this is where I started my career. But the driving force, frankly, of the US is passion in this big country that will offer a lot. I liked it, huge experience, different culture to mine, learned a lot. But then went to Saudi because I want to be with my wife, or at least my future wife, who's today my wife. And then we started our life there. And we brought 3 kids to life, and they are beautiful. And
I don't know if I'm revealing too much, but you shared earlier that you've become a grandfather just recently. Congratulations!
7 weeks ago, I became a grandfather, and I am the youngest grandfather in the universe.
Congratulations! That's great, and it's beautiful, of course, as a story. But I think it's also a lesson for all of us that we are all having international careers. We are all coming from all kinds of countries. Now in Geneva, we might go somewhere else in the world, and we can follow our sense of adventure. But we should never forget that at the end of the day, you, as a human, you also need family, and that's an important aspect of life too. The other important aspect is to find the company that suits you. You already talked a little bit about that. Now, 36 years is a long time. You're passionate, you said that. You felt that they respected you. You felt included and valuable. Were you always set to sort of become senior vice president and high-ranking executive at P&G? What drove you all those years?
Never, Peter. Honestly, never. And you might say, how come you're not ambitious? All of us are ambitious. But frankly, from day one, when I went into this huge company, you feel at the beginning intimidated by saying, my God, it's so big, okay? And we had like these levels in the place I'm in. The plant manager was like the big guy, the very powerful guy. Never thought I would be the plant manager one day. I thought maybe if I go one level up in the hierarchy will be good enough. But then what I learned, and this is what I tell my young recruits when they come to our company, and what I tell you, you do the best in what you are doing today. You focus on the best. You make a difference. And if you're well surrounded, people will observe you, will watch you, will pick you up. That was, for me, the case. I never thought I'm going to be, in those days, we call them team manager. When you come from university, you have a small team. You're responsible for them as an engineer in shift on a factory floor. Maybe when you get promoted a few years later, you're the department manager, so you have more than the operation. You have the maintenance next to it. A few years later, you're an operation manager, and so on and so on. I never really thought, okay, I'm going to do this or that. Never. I just came every day with something to make a difference. Make a difference on producing good quality product, making a difference by coaching a young colleague, making a difference to uphold the standard. But along the way is the humility of never take yourself seriously. You mentioned my title.
Exactly.
I don't remember, my title. I don't, of course, I take my job seriously, but I never take the title seriously because it's not the title you're given. It's how you earn what you do every day.
Yeah.
So no, I never imagined I'll be sitting with you today with this title some 36 years ago. I swear.
It's very
never.
nice, though, to be here, and we're very happy that you're here. Now, I know that there's a lot of questions from the audience, too, so I want to make sure we get to those. Why don't we see if there's any questions, and can we get a microphone up so that you can all stand up, say who you are, and then ask your questions. Let's start. We're trying to see you. There's a question right here in the front, and then one there in the back.
Excellent.
Well, maybe take the two questions here up front, and then we'll go to the back. Is there a microphone or not? There we go. So we'll start here in the front, the two young men.
Afternoon. My name is Anderson. I'm doing my MBA.
What's your name, sorry?
Anderson.
Anderson.
Thank you for taking your time to talk to us today, Mr. Sarah and Peter. My question is revolving around crisis management. How does P&G...
About?
Crisis management.
Crisis management.
How does P&G handle the disruptions when it comes to supply chain, as it can happen anywhere around the world, depending on any circumstance? And what lessons have endured through what you guys have learned then?
Excellent. And we'll also get the second question already in, and then we'll listen to Fares' responses.
Okay, wonderful. First of all, thank you for giving this amazing speech. My question is more related with the mega trend of AI that's been happening in the past years, and how Procter Gamble is implementing that, especially in the supply chain management area. Is that basically?
Excellent. What was your name?
Nicholas.
Nicholas.
So Nicholas, the first part, you were referring to mega trends, did you say?
The mega trend of AI and how you're implementing that in Procter & Gamble, especially in the supply chain.
Excellent. Now, I will say, Fares told me that he was willing to talk about anything, but he did say that today, specifically today, Fares, you said, I'm not going to reveal any company secrets.
No.
Too bad.
I will not, because whatever is public you can. But I'll make a general reference to what you're saying, and
then also the crisis management.
Yeah, of course, and it's not about P&G per se, but just think if any company today, you need to be in touch with the environment you're in. That's the most important. Any short and long term strategy needs for whatever company to be in touch and awareness of what's happening at the consumer level and what's happening at the macro level and what is their vision. The most important thing is you know what you're serving and you know where you want to be. Those are very two fundamental. And what we call it, and by the end of the day, is every company has to deliver on a job to be done. I'm hoping you will find it in one of the courses because this is a general word, a job to be done. Every company has got a job to be done. My job to be done to the consumer is deliver a product that cleans their clothes. So she has a job to be done. I have to deliver a solution for the job to be done. So that's first and most important. Once you understand what's a job to be done, then you need to understand what resource do you need, what investment you have to put for, what kind of people and skill set you need, what technology. But then you need to anticipate what can go wrong. So for instance, for all of us in the industry, all of us, being a hotel, a restaurant, or my company, or any other company, none of us went through pandemic in our life stage. You know, my grandfather would used to tell us about the pandemic in the 19th century. And for us as kids, we will never link to it. 2020, we all woke up to something called COVID. What did it tell us? Okay, that some companies were not prepared for that. Actually, it's very funny. I had some friends who were not prepared to work from home because their company did not have the IT infrastructure to have people overnight go with their PC open, connect on Microsoft Teams or on Zoom. Other companies, because they're multinational, because they're broad-based, it was natural that the next day we switch on our computers and we can operate. So long story to a very good question, you need to know what's the job to be done. You need to understand what it takes. You need to be connected to the environment, and you need to say, what's the worst case scenario in my industry that I need to be ready for? And to answer both, by the way, in terms of the mega trend, okay, in terms of the mega trend, for instance, consumer habit is changing today. You know, some people will today no longer go to a retail store shop. So as a company, you need to adapt to do more of digital commerce. So, and so on, so on. So the mega trend means you need to have people who will always ask the question, what will be disrupted tomorrow? And be ahead of other people who will not ask those questions. And that will be the point of difference, to compete, to lead, and to win.
Okay. It's a very interesting answer because, you know, we did talk about AI already earlier on. And, you know, you related back to what is our company's job to be done. And if the job to be done, as you said, is to make sure that, you know, for example, I as a father can do the laundry of my kids, then if any AI tool can help you do that job, then great. But if not, then you're not going to get involved in anything with AI because it doesn't help you do your job, right? So now, if you start a whole new company, would you still say that applies? Would you say, you know, you get a look at what job do you want to do, what is the need of society that you want to solve, and then decide whether you want to use AI with that? Or is it okay when you do a startup that you just say, well, listen, we've got this very powerful tool, AI, and let's just see what job it can do?
Yeah. Peter, I cannot today think of any company that would not need some level of digital, because the word AI, artificial intelligence, has got element under it, right? So we use it as an umbrella to many things. You will need to use some of it at one point in time, depending where are you in your business. But any business, a restaurant today, you can argue they should be using data analytics, and you say, what's data? It's part of all the AI thing. You need to understand your consumer need, who's coming more, who likes more your dish, what dish is selling more. This is data.
Right.
So I would say any business in today's world, to be on the edge, would require some level of data learning, some machine learning, some automation. You know, some of us grew up on, I would say a word, none of you will know what I'm talking about. Lotus 123. Go Google it. It's in the museum. It's the one before Excel sheet. And some do not know anymore what's an Excel sheet, and I can go on and on and on.
That's
So
terrible.
it's all the sophistication of what's needed in the world.
That makes sense. We had a question in the back, and if there's any other question you want to raise your hand, we can take a second question. Yeah, maybe the lady over there to the right. So if we can bring the microphone to the lady over there and the gentleman in the back.
Hello, my name is Wendy, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Wendy.
And congratulations on being the youngest grandfather, like you said.
Thank you.
So you mentioned something about VIP, and one of the characteristics about it is performance. So it's about people trusting that you can deliver you those solutions whenever they need. So my first question will be, how do you overcome the doubts? Because I know that's not an easy position to be in. How much does EQ is important in all of that? And maybe some tips and advices on how we can enhance or increase our EQ. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very good question.
And we're going to take the second question also in the back there.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Shang Ling, and the question I want to ask is that as a person that's not in the industry, I find that the situation of homogenization, which means that there are many similar products in the market, this situation has been stronger and stronger. So in this case, I want to ask how P&G counter this question, or are there any innovations that has been done to develop their target, or just stay there to solely the target market to stable the share? Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shirley, maybe I'll try to reconfirm a bit what you asked, but maybe I got it. But I'll go back to the question about, how do you let people do the thing that you want to trust them for? First, it starts by ensuring you bring people with the right attitude, and you help them to develop certain skill and experiences. In all companies, they've got their own way to recruit, to train, and so on. So the starting point is you need to provide the platform for people. They come in, they have the desire. Desire is the most important. In the old days, there used to be 3 letters that stuck with me in one of my early training when I was younger. I used to call it KSA. It's not Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is K for knowledge, S for skills, and A for attitude. Knowledge, you take it with time. You learn, you study, you get more skills, you learn certain skills, you demonstrate them. The A for attitude is about desire. The desire to wake up in the morning and do the best you want to do. The desire to show up and be on the whole day. It's a desire. So once you have that desire, then any company should equip the people with that knowledge and skill. So that's a framework. If you do that, and you hire very good people, and they're coming with a beautiful desire and attitude to really want to do a great job, they want to win, they want to perform, they want to make an impact. Therefore, you have to let them do what they believe they can offer. But of course, with experience, you need to balance a bit the risk. You need to give them, to offer them risk, but at the same time, not to handicap them. Because I find today a lot of the young colleagues, they know by far more than I know, even with all my experience. They're more digitally savvy, they're quicker of getting data than I used to get, and so on. So that's the one part of your question. The second part, you can go online. There are a lot of companies that today train on EQ. I used to believe many years ago that EQ is something you're born with. That you have a family, the way you're born, you have EQ, you're kind of sensitive. In reality, it can be learned. It can be learned. There are certain characteristics for EQ that can be learned. Being self-aware, So there are a lot of learning. You can Google it. and you can do. But if you ask me, listening, sincerely listening, before you speak, before you jump to a conclusion, listening to really want to sincerely understand what the other person in front of you is doing, before you jump and you say, no, you're wrong, it is the #1 quality of EQ. Because once you listen to understand, you're really trying to bridge, and you're really trying to understand how you can help. That's #1. And the second one, people who are open for feedback. The more people are open for feedback and relaxed, and every feedback they take it as a gift, and they do something with it, those score 10 out of 10 on EQ, because they want to improve rather than want to defend. That's EQ.
Very good. And then in the back, we had a question, I think, about...
I think I go back. Maybe I understand the question, and apologies if maybe I missed part of it. Being us as a company or anybody else, I go back to the job to be done. You gain share or you grow your business by delivering on the job to be done better than anybody else. So you buy a car because you have certain need that this car will give you. And if they deliver on the job you want it to be done for you, you buy a product that you like at home to solve for you a problem. Then if I do another product that doesn't give you the same solution to the job to be done, then you're going to buy this product, you're not going to buy mine. So the companies who innovate around exactly understanding what is the job to be done are the companies that will succeed in no matter what industry. Okay.
Excellent. I think we'll have time for 2 more questions. So let's see if we'll get some more. Here in the middle, we have a question, and here in the front.
We also had a question upstairs, actually, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. We have the balcony there.
Just so there's still a
great.
balcony upstairs.
Yeah, wow, this is great. Well, we'll start with the person upstairs, and then we'll come to downstairs again.
Hello, and thank you for coming. My question was, what has been your most challenging experience as a leader in supply chain, and how did you overcome this?
Excellent. Do you want to just share your name so we know who you are?
My name is Nayara.
Is?
Nayara.
Nayaris. What has been my largest challenge?
We'll go there.
I've got few. I got quite few. But the most recent one, maybe COVID. Maybe COVID. And that was the biggest challenge, that overnight the world came to a complete stop. In supply chain, there is nothing called stop. You need to continue producing and supplying. Right. That was the largest challenge. Because you wake up in the morning and they will tell you everything cannot be moving around, people cannot go to the street, but you still need to deliver your product. People wanted to clean. People wanted to eat. People wanted to have their necessity. I think the companies who did better than others are the companies who had great people that can deliver in any context. And we called it, are we winning in any context?
But how did you do it? Because, I remember that time, and it was really scary. And for a big part, you had maybe a week or 2 weeks, but then really everything was off. You couldn't get anything in or out. People had to go home. So what were the crucial steps that you took at that time to make sure that the things kept running?
Many companies who really did better than others are companies who had their infrastructure in place, i.e. their technology in place, they have capabilities in place.
And so it's about foresight.
It is foresight. I think challenges can be an opportunity to show you can do better, or challenges will test you to fail because you were not ready for. Yeah.
Now, I spoke to a lot of companies also that have operations in countries that have recently been war-torn. Ukraine, we talk about Lebanon, other countries. When something like that happens, now you really cannot prepare for that, right? What do you do in such a situation? There was no way, you're the best prepared leader ever, but you're just confronted with something that you couldn't prepare for. What do you do?
Again, who from us would have dreamt COVID will happen?
Right.
None of us.
But your foresight existed in scenario planning then,
Yeah.
or what was that?
I think you answered it correctly. Scenario planning is number one, because you will always be faced, if not pandemic, maybe a war, maybe a tariff war, a
Right.
trade war between China and the West.
Funny that you mentioned that.
Well, exactly, it happened.
But so you make those scenarios. I want to make sure, Fares, that because we had a few more questions,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, you can ask your question. There was one here and then also one person
Yeah.
there. We're going to take all three of them, even though we only have 3 minutes left, Fares. So we're going to listen to all three questions, and then it's your challenge to do a rapid fire answering.
The most challenging thing to answer in 3 minutes.
Go on.
Okay, so my name is Mark. I first off want to thank you for being here this
Thank you,
evening.
Mark.
And so my question to you is, I never really pass up a chance to learn from people who are more experienced than me, which is why I want to know what has taught you most in life, your successes or your failures? Because for me personally, I believe failure is probably the better teacher. It's a lot more cruel, but I can tell you any lesson I've learned from failure, I have learned it well.
Wow,
That's a
amazing
good-
question.
You answered the question, but
Yeah, you
I will
already,
elaborate.
that's true as well. And then we had here, and then the lady in the middle, yeah.
Oh, hello. My name is Alejandro. I'm from Mexico. And very quickly, I once heard the speech that you gave in the graduation ceremony about EQ. I really found a lot of value in that, and it made me reflect, because especially like it's learning from leaders, right? So what advice would you give to aspiring, I guess, leaders in dealing with other human beings besides EQ? Because I think EQ is a skill, of course, like you said. But I once heard a quote that says that leaders are, the greatest leaders are obsessed with leadership, and they're always thinking about leadership. Is that true for you? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And one more person. There was the lady, I think, in the middle. You're fine? You're fine? Okay, then we'll take the question from that gentleman. And then we really have to go. So success or failure, go ahead.
So my question today, as a successful businessman, well, we talked about AI and everything. My question is about like Bitcoin and NFTs. Have you invested yourself into these things, or are you more of a traditional investor like real estate and cars? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Let me see quickly how to get it. First, you answered the question correctly. You learn a lot from failures, but also you should learn from success and ask yourself, was this success by coincidence or by design? That's another thing, because sometimes you're successful. You say, is it by luck or by design? So also from good success, to double down on it, can I repeat it? And of course, from failure, because if you fail once, it's okay. If you fail twice, it's not okay. For the same thing. You can fail as many times for different things, but for the same thing, I will always tell people, if you don't learn from the first time, it's fine. If you don't learn from the second time, maybe it's not okay. For leadership, the best leadership is being an obsessed servant leadership. Because the way I look at the organization chart, it's an inverted organization chart. Usually organization chart, you have the boss at the head of the chart and the people down. The best organization chart is when the leader is at the bottom serving their people. And we call it servant leadership. That's the best leadership. Okay? And for investment, I would not have been sitting here if I bought Bitcoin 10 years ago. So I'm a traditional investor.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for answering all of the questions from the students, my questions as well, and really for just sharing your wisdom with us today. Thank you, Fares, and a big round of applause from us.
Thank you. Thank you.